Welcome to the first ever episode 3 of the Animus podcast, a weekly podcast focusing on everything Assassin's Creed community, news, and discussion. I'm one of your hosts, Aftermath1231, and with me today, as usual, is Aries.
Hello, friends.
And McCracKenway.
Hello, friends.
And I guess this week is Fred.
Hello, everyone.
And today we'll be discussing Fred's contributions to the subreddit and his time as a moderator. We'll be discussing Shay Cormac, in addition to some Assassin's Creed Chronicles China news and discussion points. So let's get started. So Fred, you've been on the subreddit for the last few years or so, right?
Just after the third Assassin's Creed, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I noticed you very early on with your really with some really high quality posts and tendency to be a bit blunt with how you.
Yeah, it's the best way to communicate, really.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I like that style, personally. So, you were a very active user for a few months there until you became one of the very first Master Assassins, right?
Yeah, I was, and mostly just because I really like the games and I like, Reddit, quite frankly, and also because I don't really have much else to do with my life.
Oh, so, yeah, fair enough.
This is the best way to pass the time.
Fair enough. And then, so that was, you became a moderator early 2014, right? About the same time as me, just after.
It was August. Yeah, it was August.
It was late in the summer, I recall.
Yeah.
When you became Master Assassin is what we're talking about.
I don't know.
I was talking about.
That was quite a while ago.
That was early 2014, just after me.
Yeah.
And then, just a few months after that, in September, I believe it was, you became a moderator.
Yeah, it was around that area,
September, August, end of summer-ish for the Northern Hemisphere. Because the old mods opened up applications for the first time ever.
Yeah, they did. I was surprised it took so long, because I always thought that 2 was quite a small number for such a large subreddit, really.
What made you want to be a mod?
I was on there enough, and, it's something that I wanted to contribute to plentiful, so I just went for it, really.
And you may have remembered that I endorsed you quite heavily.
You did. I owe you one for that, very much. You're on CV.
Over the next 2 months, you rose through the ranks of the moderators, and so now you're actually the top mod.
I am. This is fantastic.
Yes, you have control over every single other thing on the subreddit.
You can shut us down with a click of a button.
I can do what I like.
How does it feel to be the king?
I have so much power at the tips of my fingers. It feels amazing.
You have been accused of being tyrannical a few times now.
well, once or twice, but I think that was unfair. A little bit unfairly.
If this interview goes badly, you'll just, take the post off the subreddit. Nobody will ever see it.
This is our chance. So, Freddie, what is your favorite AC game, or top 2 or 3? We have to ask you. That's the obligatory question.
I think up until Rogue, it was 4. And then Rogue and 4 are joint at the top. I can't really choose. 1 week it's one week it's the other.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. Those 2 are my favorites.
Yeah, I do really like the naval idea.
Now, I'm just looking at some of your top posts ever. And a lot of them actually are not on the AC subreddit.
No, they're not, because I joined Reddit and I karma-hoard like a little bitch.
And so 2 of your top Assassin's Creed posts, though, are a comedic comic that coming from the gaming subreddit.
That was the Unity one, right?
Yes. Did you get the
Yeah,
shot
I quite like that one.
And how they're trying to be all epic.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that. And then your other top post, which is 10 months old with 157 points, is with Watch Dogs releasing in about an hour, a reminder to everyone. And then you go and say how this point would become quite a bit of discussion, bit of conjecture.
I think discussion is to put it lightly.
Later on in the subreddit's history, about how Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed are in fact not in the same universe.
It is most certainly not.
And that is the end of that discussion.
Yeah, that is.
I don't care what anyone's going to say.
Sorted.
You are wrong.
That's it.
Yeah.
Our discussion thread for this week is on Shay Patrick Cormac, my personal favorite character. This conversation will have full spoilers for AC Rogue and possibly a few for AC3 as well. So you have been warned if you haven't played it. A, you should, but B, go and play it now. So be careful. Anyway, I want to start with probably the most iconic thing that Shay has said, which is, I make my own luck. It's as much of a joke on the internet as Charles Lee and some other famous quotes that were said probably too much in the game. I really like that quote because it's A, hilarious when we make fun of it, but B, I think it gets to a big part of Shay's character is that in making quote-unquote his own luck, it's not so much making luck as it is taking his life into his own hands. So he's a very much independent, his own person kind of guy, which is one of the reasons that I think he did what he did and went to the Templars, because he took his decisions and his actions into his own hands and did what he thought was right, not counting on luck or the assassins or the rest of the world to do things for him. What do you guys think about that?
I thought that it might actually have something... Exactly, I agree with you completely. That's exactly the same conclusion I came to. I think it has something to do with the fact that the saying, the luck of the Irish, and how he doesn't believe in that. He doesn't believe he's lucky. He believes that he's doing it himself. It's taking a lot of hard work because he was born to poor Irish immigrants in New York, you know, and so he's brought himself to be self-sustainable, and he's found the assassins, and he's become an assassin, so one didn't.
And historically speaking, the luck of the Irish is absolutely horrible.
I know, I actually,
It's terrible. Just the worst.
And I believe that was originally a term by the British, because it was like, oh, those Irish aren't actually good at anything, so they're all just luck. They're running by luck.
Probably. We had a bit of beef with the Irish. But I definitely think that it's like a sweeping statement. It solidifies Shay's. He's very, stubborn in what he does. He's confident. He's driven, really. And I think that's what it's about, rather than just, making his own luck.
Mm-hmm. I will say, though, like, the quote itself, I mean, it's up there with the ones we make fun of, along with, where is Lee? But I felt like, to some extent, with the way they were utilized in game, like that quote compared to the quote in Assassin's Creed 3, is that at least in Assassin's Creed 3, there's somewhat a reason for him to say that in conversation, whereas whenever Shay said it in the game, it mostly felt like he was just being belligerent, like it wasn't really needed.
Well, I think whenever he says, I make my own luck, it's always in direct response to someone saying, you're lucky or that was lucky. The first time he says it is Liam's like, that was just a lucky shot. He's like, no, I make my own luck. Then Franklin's like, you were really lucky to kill those guys. No, I make my own luck. So it's a very responsive thing when Shay says it. And even Stephen Piovesan, who is Shay's voice actor, lovely person, check out Loomer's podcast where he was interviewed. That's a great one. I love that. But he said, I think Shay probably should have said that line fewer times, because 7 is a bit much. 3 probably would have been good. 1 at the beginning, 1 in the middle, 1 at the end. But, yeah. Sorry. That's that. Continue.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. Just the number of times he said it did come off as very just like, come on, man. They were just like, sometimes like once or twice it was like, like someone complimented Shay, and she's like, I make my own luck. Like, come on, Shay. Social
I guess it could feel a couple of times that it felt a bit, shoehorned in, like the writers were trying to give Shay this sort of catchphrase. Yeah. Well, thank you there, Nick.
Oh, you're welcome.
What I liked about Rogue was that they do a lot of kind of tongue-in-cheek stuff. Like at the very beginning, when Shay is on the homestead, they have a bit of a Connor callback So when he's going on his little training
Fall
montage,
forward?
he says, "What would you have me do?" I was like, I got what you guys are doing there.
Oh yeah.
So
It was
that
a
one of the
real
things I
big
liked
fan
about Rogue.
service the entire game.
Yeah. So on the issue of luck and external forces, let's jump straight into Lisbon and the
Oh.
earthquake that killed an entire civilian population.
I'd just like to say first that
Casually.
mission was fantastic.
That was probably
was
one of my
incredible
favorite
fun.
missions in all of Assassin's Creed.
Even
ever.
just like the
It-
beginning, like where you're climbing around the church, reminded me very strongly of like my favorite parts of Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah.
Exploring the churches in that game. But then, of course, getting into the earthquake afterwards was just
before we
that
get
was
there,
just nuts.
before we get there, real quick, I'd just like to point out that the way it was depicted in the trailers was very interesting, and how those missions were portrayed in the trailer, and how a lot of people thought that it may have been the New York fire originally. That was the big point. Was believed that that was the New York fire because they never got to display it in Assassin's Creed 3 because of technical limitations, and so
Right.
we believe that they may have been redeeming that fact that they had to
that
cut
would have
that.
extended it
Yeah,
a lot
brought it
further
in.
into. That would have
Yeah.
extended it into the American Revolution because that's when
Yeah, but that
Washington
made
pulls
the
out
most
in New York,
sense,
and nobody
but-
knows who really set the fire, but
Yeah, that would make
suspicion
the
is that it was the
sense because
Americans
at the
like not
time.
leaving it.
All we knew was that he was going to the only city was New York. Was all we knew.
Mm-hmm.
But I, getting closer towards getting more information, I began to notice that the architecture looked a lot more Spanish than British
Mm-hmm.
American.
Yeah,
You know.
it looked like Havana from
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed
Yeah.
4.
Yeah,
And speaking of the mission where it's running through all the exploring stuff, there seems to be like it reminded me a lot of the short sequence in Assassin's Creed 4, where there's the Navy bombardment when they're getting Blackbeard
Yes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything's exploding. That was really
Yeah, that
cool.
was
And I just felt it
great.
was a bit short.
hmm
And then Rogue had this brilliant long sequence that was absolutely.
I guess I could point to,
Michael
like-
Bay-esque.
yeah. There's like 2 or 3 like short versions of that throughout the game. That one, when I was actually playing it, at some point I was enjoying it, but at some point I was like, how long does this go on? How long did it take to get here in the first place?
A similar one
Yeah.
would be in Assassin's Creed 3 with Fort Walcott.
Yeah, Charlestown.
Fort Walcott.
Oh yeah,
Charlestown.
forgot about that.
Assassin's Creed Revelations, sort of, with the
Oh,
harbor.
yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is
There are a
also
lot
one
of
of my
these.
favorite memories, and that has one of my favorite pieces of any of the soundtracks, which is called An Unsubtle Approach, which was perfect for that mission.
Perfect name.
See, as much as they want to push stealth, I think there really need to be one of these missions in each game. Not just 'cause it's cool, but it sort of mixes up the gameplay a bit.
Yeah, I mean they talked way back when like the Brotherhood development diaries were coming out about exotic gameplay, and that's actually kind of I feel like how the ship gameplay came about in the first place. And I guess we're at a point where I can't necessarily point to exotic gameplay sequences in any of the current games because naval gameplay is like a main feature now in Rogue.
Yeah.
It's all exotic, really.
Yeah, which is why people, I guess, are like, Assassin's Creed 4 is not an Assassin's Creed game, it's a pirate game. And that makes me mad, but whatever.
I think it was very well done with the. Excuse me, sorry about that. Okay, I'm just gonna put that down. That Hope looked after the Morrigan for Shay while he was away in Lisbon, and so then he had to actually. Then they gave us an extra mission where we had to take the Morrigan back from the assassins, which was very interesting.
All right. Yeah.
Now back
That's
on
also when
topic.
you.
Back on topic.
That was the introduction to the Stalker
Yes,
system. isn't
with
it?
that little
Yes.
prelude.
Yeah.
An
Yeah.
interesting thing that those of you who don't speak Greek might not know is that the mission title for the Lisbon mission is Kyrie eleison, which is Greek or ancient Greek for Lord have mercy. What I liked about the way that they do the titles in Assassin's Creed missions is that they're always kind of sometimes tongue-in-cheek, sometimes funny, sometimes serious, and actually in this case it relates directly to the theme of the mission. So when Shay gets out of this gratuitously long sequence, which, if you want to be metaphorical, kind of parallels the gratuitous loss of life, but I won't get too hard on that. He gets to the boat, and the guy says, how could God do this to them? And Shay's like, God had nothing to do with this. So it's sort of getting back to the making his own luck thing. Shay is, we can conclude, an atheist, because he says, God had nothing to do with this, luck had nothing to do with this, this was all, and he will then later argue, the assassin's fault that this happened. It was them. And everything that happens in Shay's life is either something he does in making his own luck, or it's something that the Assassins do or the Templars do, which is why he's so big on, I think, personally acting and taking matters into his own hands, because he's the only person who can really make change in his life. So that's why he was so upset with, or enraged by the Lisbon earthquake, because he's like, the Assassins are directly responsible for this and I need to make it right.
Even though I would say it would be no one's responsible. It was just a mistake. And if anyone's responsible, it would be him for doing it. Even
True.
if it was also a mistake.
Something that could have definitely been sorted out over, afternoon tea or something.
Yeah. That is, I mean, I understand that we wanted to get Shay divorced from the Assassins relatively quickly. But I guess the way it did happen, and I don't know if it was because they wanted to still somewhat present Achilles as a sympathetic figure, because of course he's a sympathetic figure in Assassin's Creed 3. They don't want to demonize the Assassins too much, but it felt like the way that Shay broke with the Assassins was really fast, whereas like if they had made the Assassins these terrible people, then they would I think they'd have a better case for why Shay left quickly, or even if he left and had a longer discussion over that. But the way it was in the game, it felt like Shay was mad. He went and sulked over a campfire, came back.
Yeah, I think Shay was a bit aggressive, a bit childish even, that he didn't even listen or take into account what they were saying and how they didn't know. He just assumed that they knew exactly what they were doing when they're dealing with this ancient technology that no one really truly understands.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but to counter that, I would say Achilles was also very brash in immediately saying, "Oh, Shay's disagreeing with me. Get him out of here. I don't want to see him."
Yeah, that was...
Yes, but also that.
Yes, I guess.
I thought Shay's reaction...
Go ahead, Fred.
Sorry, I thought Shay's reaction was really not, justifiable, but it was understandable, because at the end of the day, he's come back, he just slaughtered a city. It's unlikely you're going to be listening to reason of the people that made you do that.
Yeah.
He's going to be looking for someone else to blame. He doesn't want to see himself responsible for all those people who died.
Probably because he's been demonizing himself the whole way back as well, because it's not a short trip across the Atlantic.
No, it's not. It's a good couple of months or something.
Yeah.
So, do you guys think that Shay was right to betray? Because Achilles, when they're at the temple in the Arctic, Achilles says, no, Liam, don't touch it. Shay was right. And Liam later says, right or wrong, Shay, you betrayed the Brotherhood, Achilles, and me. So to Liam, what is right is to be loyal. But Achilles sort of in the end realizes that what is right is to do what you believe is good for, I guess, the world, because Shay is really saving the world by keeping the Assassins from the relics.
I think that
Shay
could be debated either direction. Because, I mean, if Shay had stayed with the Assassins, he might have been able to reason with them and prevent them from going after the next one in the Arctic at all. Even though I guess the only people who were really harmed by that one were assassins,
Penguins,
henchmen, and great ox.
Not penguins.
Nope. But at the same time, I feel like Shay really did a lot of good things with the Templars. Like, he did the thing that way back when I was first reading about Rogue and Game Informer was called this philosophy of the golden cage, whereas assassins very much go do your own thing. Templars believe in this golden cage, which is it's this perfect life. You're protected, you're supported, but you can't really leave the cage. And that's kind of what you actually do as Shay in taking settlements and forts and such.
And also with General or Colonel Monroe, the first conversation you have with him is when Monroe says, I take a different approach, I actually care. Here, you can care too, go renovate that building over there. So what I liked about Shay's interactions with the Templars is he's directly having a positive impact in a lot of people's lives by repairing the community and the buildings for the sake of caring rather than for the sake of getting money, like what Ezio does, as we established in the last podcast.
And I think Freddie had something to say that I kind of talked over.
Sorry about that. I think Shay was right to leave the Assassins, but not necessarily for that reason of Lisbon. Like you said, it could have been sorted out quite easily had they just, communicate a bit more. But I think the justification comes a bit later on when you find out about the gangs that Hope is messing around with. I thought that was sort of his justification leaving, because that's not right at the end of the day.
Yeah, no.
At the same time, though, because it's Hope. I mean, because at that point, Hope is the one who's really doing, like, the hand that's doing the awful things, kind of terrorizing the people of New York.
Hope was more preoccupied with establishing assassin control in North America than she was in making her subjects pleased with their lives.
But
that's a very Templar approach, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, really. So she used the gangs to her own effect. They provided just basically a brute force kind of militia to help out the assassins, and in exchange they were given free reign to rule over these the cities in the north and most of North America. And yes,
plus I think her use of the gangs sort of could show something, like in Monroe, could show something between the assassin temps, where the assassins will use, gangs and stuff, whereas the Templars back, like the British army, the Spanish army and stuff in 4, and the Navy and such, they're looking for more authoritative figures, whereas she's just going for, gangs to establish control.
Well, the assassins also had the French army.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's forget about that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's all very interesting. Right?
Next thing I want to mention is Shay was, in the lead up to AC Rogue being released, portrayed and marketed as an assassin hunter. That quote still rings in my ears, "The air is still and I am a hunter," really sounds cool, because Stephen Piovesan is a fantastic voice actor.
The track in that trailer is on the Assassin's Creed Road soundtrack, and I would recommend getting that song, because it's awesome.
Good track. But I would actually argue that he's not really an assassin hunter, because he's not going around killing assassins for the sake of killing assassins. He doesn't take pleasure in killing them, and you can see, if you look at the cutscenes, that he doesn't seem like, "Oh yeah, I totally got you, suck it." It's like, "I'm sorry, I had to do this." He's not killing them because he wants to kill them. He's killing them as a way to stop them from getting to the artifacts.
I understand what you're saying.
It's means to an end.
Does a hunter have to enjoy what he's doing? Say, for example, in some Connor's Assassin's Creed 3, some of his hunting missions, he hunted the larger and more dangerous animals in the area to protect the people, because the people were being mauled by them. But he was still hunting them, right? He didn't enjoy what he was doing. He didn't enjoy hunting for a moment, because you can see how he was so respectful of. He said thank you to everything that he killed, and he believed that he was giving back. And
the thing I feel like with Shay, whereas like Connor will go out and track down these people and kill them. There's several assassinations that you do as Shay that only happen because, like, for instance, like Kasego Wase is attacking the fort, so you kill Kasego Wase because he's like right there. Yeah. It's not like because like you haven't hunted down Kasego Wase specifically to put an end to him. You're just putting an end to him because he's the one right there right now.
Yeah, I'd agree. Hunting wasn't Shay's primary goal. It's his way to stopping them. If he could have stopped them by convincing them otherwise, well, he didn't really, but ideally he would have been able to. He wouldn't have had to hunt them. Getting to the end of the game with sparing Achilles, I think this shows why he isn't a hunter, because if he wanted to kill all the assassins, he would have killed Achilles, but he didn't.
Because if he's hunting anybody throughout the whole game, it's really Achilles.
Yeah, and we can talk about how something Liam said could play into that, but the quote when Shay is killing Ade is, "I will kill every last man who defends Achilles if I must. I cannot let him succeed." So here, again, it's his goal is to make sure he doesn't succeed, not necessarily to kill him.
Wait, what is Achilles trying to succeed at?
In getting to the artifact.
Well, in Shay's mind...
In Shay's mind, to kill a whole bunch of people with the artifact.
That's all Shay sees, really.
I think there's a very interesting juxtaposition. Maybe I'm using that word wrong. But in between how Shay let Achilles live at the end of Rogue and would come later to regret it, and how Ezio let Rodrigo Borgia live and would later come to regret it.
Oh yeah, I didn't really think of that. It's
somewhat
quite interesting.
Interesting. They're very different.
Am I right though? Like Shay, like Charles Dorian does tell Shay, about Connor and how he's rebuilding the assassins, and thanks to
Well,
Achilles.
in both cases, they've in effect, shown mercy because they think that they don't need to kill them. They think they've done what they came to do without killing someone, so why kill another person? And it's come around and bite them in the arse, quite frankly. So there's definitely a similarity there.
It's very interesting, really.
I don't know if Connor being rebuilding the assassins in North America would really be a problem to Shay, because Connor isn't doing what the assassins of the 7 Years' War were doing. He's trying to stop what he sees as oppression and injustice in the colonies, whereas that's essentially what the assassins were doing during the 7 Years' War. So there's a bit of a flip there. So I think it is quite different.
But doesn't Shay show some disappointment finding out that Connor's rebuilding them?
If nothing else, perhaps just because Connor's, I don't think he's very far at the point where Shay kills Charles, but he's, stabbing his way through the Templar hierarchy. Probably mostly people that at some point Shay knew personally.
Yeah.
At the
And
time,
with Connor,
at the time that Shay kills Charles, Connor has assassinated William Johnson,
Who
and
Shay did know.
Pitcairn.
yeah. But with Connor, it's very much, I'm going to kill all of these guys because I have to kill all of these guys. It's a very simple, straightforward goal. Getting back to Achilles, Shay says to Haytham, Achilles is harmless now, a mentor with no followers. What kind of world are we making if we can't show mercy? Right before then, Liam says to Shay, Liam says, why did you do all of this? Shay says to save the world. Liam says, well, I hope that world is a good one. So I think that actually seriously got to Shay, which is why he ended up saving Achilles, but also using those specific words. What kind of world are we making if we can't show mercy? Because Liam said, I hope the world you're saving is a good one. Do you guys see that too, or am I just
that's
crazy?
interesting.
Yeah.
I hadn't drawn that conclusion.
I mean, it would make sense, they're really quite close before the Assassin Templar split, so I think if anything was going to sort of change Shay's mind about something, because, he is very stubborn, it would be something Liam said.
Which I suppose would then explain why he feels regret about it later, because the decision to spare Achilles was very much an in-the-moment decision because of what Liam said, whereas later when he's removed from that, he thinks, oh, wait, damn, that was dumb.
Yeah, hindsight.
That would explain it. Yeah. And then Achilles gets shot in the knee. I thought the way they did it was great, where he gets kicked when they're in the homestead, and you're like, oh, that's where it is. And then afterwards it's like, oh, wait, no, never mind, it was actually Haytham.
I like the idea that someone posted on somewhere, I think it might have been the subreddit. It was just sort of like a running gag throughout Rogue of just Achilles just constantly getting hit in the leg every time he's on the camera. That would have made me laugh a bit.
That would have been great.
Okay, so according to the Pan-European Game Information, Game Rating Association in Europe, they have rated, that's Peggy for most people, they've rated Assassin's Creed Chronicles China 16 plus, and that's not the big news. The big news is that it has basically been confirmed to be available on current generation PS4, Xbox One, and last generation PS3, Xbox 360, as well as the PC. So everybody gets a piece of the cake except for Wii U players.
It sounds very interesting. It sounds just like a Telltale game, which comes out on everything under the sun, including iOS and Android.
I played all my Telltale games on iOS.
And, in addition to that, there was a rumor that came out just today, which comes from this obscure website I've never heard of.
Breaking news.
Yes. Which comes from, it seems like a French website that are saying that they have a source which is stating that Assassin's Creed Chronicles China may be coming to Vita.
Ooh.
Which is very interesting. I think it would be a great fit for Vita, in fact.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah, it seems like
nothing.
a Vita game, really, more than a console game to me.
Yeah. If it comes out on everything at the same time, then I'm completely fine with it being Vita. It's just when Liberation gets withheld only on Vita is when I get annoyed.
Yeah, that would be a bit of a bombshell.
I wonder what studios are handling I guess I'll call them ports because it's being ported from whatever onto everything. But that must be exceptionally tricky to get one game onto every single operating system under the sun.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess
How do Telltale
it depends. Minecraft is on everything, but Minecraft works on essentially a crappy Flash engine.
Yeah, but Minecraft was ported by 4J Studios and made by Mojang on PC.
Which is why the updates take a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah, so that's very interesting. Assassin's Creed Chronicles China coming onto every single console, including
except
PC.
for Wii U.
Except for
and
Wii U, because Wii U has just probably can't run it.
possibly Vita.
And
No
very,
DS. That does not.
personally, I think it's very likely it's coming to Vita. It makes a lot of sense for them to put it on Vita.
Yeah.
But
I
this
think
is
it
a
would be
very
easier to-
strange source, which we've never really had. We've never had reliable information come from this source before. So it's really anybody's guess.
Yeah, so Vita owners can keep the hopes up, and that's about as far as it goes, really, doesn't it?
All 10 of them.
Yeah.
All 10 of them, yes.
I mean, currently, I guess.
We thought it's like
right
7
now
more people
are-
than own a Wii U.
Yeah. At least Wii U
Double
has
ouch.
games, even if they're only by one company. All right.
Wii U makes their own games.
Rumors about an entirely new Nintendo console
Jesus.
that's in the works.
Oh, yeah,
It's just
NX.
like-
That's a discussion for a different podcast, though.
yeah.
Yeah, not our podcast.
No,
No.
So-
nothing to do with
No.
Assassin's Creed in any way.
One of the
Building
things-
off Assassin's Creed Chronicles China, we have another discussion this week, which comes straight to us from Reddit user and good friend of mine, PutridMoldyman, who says, at this point, if everything in the Kotaku article is true, we currently know more about Assassin's Creed Victory than Assassin's Creed Chronicles China. What do you think ACCC's gameplay could be like, and do you think it will take
So many
inspiration from
Cs.
other
Well-
Ubi side-scrollers, such as Valiant Hearts?
I've just played through Valiant Hearts on your recommendation.
Yeah.
It was very good, and if the new Assassin's Creed
ACCC.
takes any inspiration from Valiant Hearts, whether it's the sort of puzzling or the kind of interesting art style, I would be chuffed to bloody bits. It's because I really enjoyed that.
Well, Valiant Hearts, as well as Rayman and a couple other ones, and the new ACCC, all run on the UbiArt engine, which is very easy to develop for, given that they're using it for so many different games. So I think that this is, going forward in the series, a great opportunity for Ubisoft, because they have a proven gameplay style that they know works, side-scrolling on a beautiful... Oh, Child of Light was the other one on UbiArt.
Yes.
But
Only one I've not
Someone's
played.
typing.
Well, except for Assassin's Creed Chronicles, which is not out yet.
yeah, but
Yeah,
what was I going to
it's
say?
From the only information that we have on Chronicles China at all, aside from this brand new information from
We have
Peggy,
3 screens.
is that we have these 3 screenshots and this 15-second clip with Amancio talking over it from that trailer.
That's just from that was mostly about Unity Season Pass.
Yeah, and then they
Yeah,
just
so that was
threw
the
in
only
there
time we ever heard
because
anything about
surprisingly.
that.
Yeah.
What's very interesting is that we have confirmation from community developers that Assassin's Creed Chronicles China is still in development, and that Unity Season Pass holders will be getting it for free. Which is interesting.
I'm really worried that this is going to be another heist situation. We've got no release
Yeah.
date. They've promised
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot, and I'm terrified that they're just going to sort of wait until 2020 to release it.
Well, they did say early 2015, didn't they?
Yeah, they
It's-
did.
It's still
I mean,
early-ish.
All right, okay.
If
Sorry.
it breaks out of early 2015, then that kind of steps on the toes
We're
of
already getting
Assassin's Creed Victory.
towards mid 2015 here.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I guess they don't want to
Because
be
they're releasing
crossing the two.
they're
If I'm
gonna
honest-
they're gonna do the Sega Dreamcast thing. They're gonna get to E3 and be like, it is available now,
I would love that.
without
Could do.
announcing it anywhere else.
I would love that. a
Yeah,
lot.
but agree
I,
with that.
I would rather enjoy that.
If I'm honest, I think that it would be better for them to not bother stating a release date and just release it when it's done. Because the one thing
That's what
that
Telltale does.
Ubisoft needs to do right now is make sure that their games are actually done when they ship. And if that means not giving us any information and just shipping it when it's done, I have no problem with that.
That's kind of
Because-
the thing.
I would
Yeah.
be happy with that.
Yeah.
That's what Telltale does. Is they don't say anything. They're just suddenly like, oh yeah, it's released a week from now. Yeah,
That's
Have
definitely
fun.
something Ubisoft and especially the Assassin's Creed brand needs as a completely working, not buggy game. And
I
anyway,
Yeah.
am hopeful, partially
I think-
because we've got one of the little snippets of information is that it's a 2.5D game, so it's a side scroller with three-dimensional graphics. And
three-dimensional
this
UBR.
aspects of gameplay because
Well-
you can see her go around the corners and things.
Yeah, but so this draws comparisons to one other game in the Assassin's Creed franchise, which was actually a DS game called Assassin's Creed 2 Discovery.
And iOS. I played it on my tablet.
Yeah, I played it on iOS. I played it on my phone. No, iPod Touch. I didn't have a phone yet. But actually, so if we're speculating gameplay, if that's like, if you take that as a basis, like if that's all they do, if it's exactly like Assassin's Creed 2 Discovery, I would not be mad because that game was actually very fun.
Yeah, I think that's probably a decent indicator of how it'll play in a general sense. You go forward and back, probably tap to attack, tap something else to do some long-range thing. The gameplay will be fairly similar to that. In terms
think
of
it'll be,
story, I think...
Discovery
Right.
was pretty fast paced. Like there were
Yeah.
several levels
Yeah,
where you were
very.
just like running and you built up momentum, which was awesome. But from what we've seen, I think Assassin's Creed Chronicles China is going to be a little bit slower paced.
A little bit
Yeah,
more
more
stealthy. Like,
Yeah.
it reminds me a lot of. I'm probably
Mark of
gonna
the
get flagged
Ninja?
for this. Yes, exactly. Mark of the
Yep.
Ninja. Even
Yeah.
though this is China, not
Yeah.
ninjas.
Nope.
With regards to story, I think the one thing we almost know for a fact we're going to see is the box. Because Ezio gives
box!
it to Xiaojun, and then
Oh, the
somehow it ends up in the hands of the Templars. We don't know how, so I think this game is going to be the answer to that.
Yeah.
What do you guys
And
think?
yes, it is the same box. There was a thread a while ago that was like, is it the same box? Did we ever know what happened to that box that Ezio gave Xiaoyun? It is the same box that is in Rogue.
Well,
Freedom Fighter, as far as we know.
we believe it is, but Darby's exact words were the fact that they look the same is no accident. He never explicitly stated they're the exact same box.
The ever
believe there
elusive
was a-
Darby confusing
there
us
was a
once
post-
again.
This is
on-
Darby, you're right.
There's a post on the Facebook fan page, Those Who Came Before, just today, about the box. And I think it'll be very interesting. We don't know if they're the same box or not. We know that they're related. We know that they look similar intentionally, but we don't know if they're the exact same. It's a safe bet, but they could be just like the apples, and the first have made redundancies.
But the one thing we know for a fact is that we will get some sort of, well, not for a fact, but almost a fact, is we will get some sort of insight into the box. Because if there's any
Yes.
They'll
defining
definitely-
trait of Xiaojun's story, it is that box is in it. So taking
I mean, the
this a
first
step
time we saw
further,
her
And Footblade.
was Embers, where
and the
she
Footblades,
was
yeah.
given the box. Yeah.
Oh,
Joker
and the rope
stole
dart.
those.
She gave the assassins the rope dart.
Yes.
Yeah.
But taking this a step further, I think one of the things that we can see is how this will apply in the future, because this is ACCC, Assassin's Creed Chronicles, China.
Yes.
So we're led to believe that there will be Assassin's Creed Chronicles somewhere else entirely. So I think that since the UbiArt engine is such a versatile and effective engine, we can see many more games with this framework that take characters that people wanted to see a game with, but is not feasible to build an entire game for. So one thing that I'm thinking is we may get another game with Connor, because
Yeah.
everyone wants to see, well, not everyone, but a lot of people want to see a game with Connor, and there's no way that Ubisoft would okay another game with Connor, because it just would not financially do that well.
And
because
UbiGabe
not a lot
said
of
that
people like him.
UbiGabe said that the best we're going to get from Future of Connor would be something like an iPad game. And I think
So
this
This
fits
is
the bill.
exactly it. So this would be the exact type of thing that they could do to tie up loose ends in character stories that wouldn't necessarily justify a game. So like, what does Edward do when he comes back to the Caribbean? What does Connor do after he helps, win the revolution?
we
So
know
all
him.
of those types of things
And sends letters to
would
Apollyon.
fit very well. So like Hatham in Forsaken, that could make a good Chronicles game. All these little loose ends are the perfect settings for these Chronicles games, and I think there are going to be a lot more of them going forward. Maybe even one every other year, one a year.
Yeah,
I think
that'd
that's
be
one of the
interesting.
ways that the Assassin's Creed series sort of is good for the story-wise, because there's so much sort of external media. So you got the books,
Yeah.
comics now these games that all these like loose ends can be tied up. So might see something with the Russian one,
Yeah.
Nikolai.
Nikolai.
You saw
Orlov.
stuff with him, you might see some more. And
I
those
guess,
assassins in Boetio's house, the statues.
Might also take cues from their own opening screen in Unity that has all the different
Yes.
levels.
That's what I was going to say here. It's going to be very interesting how they
yeah.
implement this in the modern day story, because this is most likely that Helix game. What is the name of it in the game in Unity? Do you know the name of it?
Let me see if I can pull it up.
There was Jazz Junkies. Because I actually have my Abstergo employee handbook, and in it they stated that the Sheldon game is titled Wounded Dragon Rising Phoenix.
Let me look that up right now.
Emperor's Shadow. The Emperor's Shadow. I found it.
That makes sense, because the Emperor at the time was totally crazy.
And she was
and they
a concubine.
reference the Emperor in Assassin's Creed Embers.
So likely we'll
'cause
see
she-
some of that.
Sheldon was an escaped concubine of his.
Yep, the Emperor's Shadow,
But that's
indeed.
very interesting how that's different from what the Abstergo employee handbook states it is. The Abstergo employee handbook states that the Sheldon Helix-focused game will be called Wounded Dragon Rising Phoenix.
That's probably a reference to Rising Phoenix, because they love making fun of us with that.
Yes. But it does
They're
have
like,
all the other
Darby's doing.
Helix games listed in there with the correct titles for the most part.
Oh, something this source that I found links them all to like things we know about or don't know about. Murder in Levant, AC1, Watching the Wolf, AC3. The one, I guess, is getting a little bit off topic, but they have the Bladed Cross. This person wonders if that's the reported Assassin's
Wait
Creed movie.
right here. I will be right back.
So, keep talking, or
I know. What is? Oh, he's back already.
Keep talking.
That was much shorter than expected.
You talk about stuff. I have stuff in here. Stuff.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I just
then.
got my Abstergo employee
is filler time.
handbook, which I got for my birthday the other day. And it has listed blurbs for every single one of those games. So I can tell you what they're about.
Oh, cool.
That's pretty sweet.
I do remember Bladed Cross being mentioned as well, specifically because I didn't know what that was. The Bladed Cross. The year is 330 AD, and the Roman Empire, besieged and decaying, stands at a crossroads. But one man will rise above the darkness and forge a new path for his legendary people.
Oh,
Witness
that's
the birth of Constantinople and spend time in the company of the man who made it his own, Emperor Constantine I.
Nice.
That's the Bladed Cross.
That'd make a good
That
Chronicles
one
game.
would be awesome. Yeah.
Also ACCC, Assassin's Creed Chronicles Constantinople. More C's.
That'll start up a whole new what do you do the acronym with it?
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
ACR and ACR.
Yeah.
Oh.
And no one still knows how to spell a rogue. It's always Rouge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Red.
Dark red.
That's really funny. Also,
And
Templar.
also listed on this page, which we just mentioned earlier, was the Nikolai Orlov game, which in here is titled White Death, and it apparently will follow him once he's moved to America. So it's basically going to follow the plot of The Chain, which was the epilogue to the full series.
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps up the episode for this week. Thanks for joining us, Fred.
Thank you very much. I had a good time.
Special thanks to subreddit users Radoon and LWS Rocks for allowing us to use their music, which can be found in the description, along with timestamps for everything we discussed. As usual, you can reach us on the Assassin's Creed subreddit, which is assassinscreed.reddit.com, or reddit.com/r/Assassin's Creed, as well as on Twitter and through our email, animusislandpodcast@gmail.com. Next week, we'll be joined by Reddit user and podcast music creator LWS Rocks to discuss his time on the subreddit, his music, and his 65 Days, 65 Sequences marathon last year. If you'd like to be a guest or would like to ask us a question to answer on the show, then you can contact us in any of the ways listed earlier or in any of the ways listed in the description. Once again, thanks for joining us, and have a good night.